In the book of history, there is a man who kills in silence. He is feared, whispered about, and remembered by those who survived even a glimpse of him. No one knows his name, no one knows his face, yet his presence lingers in every quiet street, every empty home, every town where someone lives alone. He does not strike immediately. He watches, he studies every routine, every habit, who leaves for work early, who stays late at night, which homes are unprotected. He memorizes it all. The first whispers came from missing pets, doors unlocked, windows found open. People dismissed it at first, until small disappearances began. One person, then another. A child missing for hours. An elderly man gone without explanation. People feel him before they see him. A shiver down the neck. Footsteps in the hall when no one is there. A faint shadow crossing a room. Fear is his first weapon. The town grows tense. Locks click earlier. Parents keep children indoors. Streets empty before dark. And in the silence, he watches. Always watching. Always waiting. His first major strike was Emily. 22, living alone at the edge of town, working late shifts at the diner. He had observed her for weeks, memorizing her habits with meticulous care. Every route she walked, every pause she took, every habit of locking her doors or glancing over her shoulder was noted. To him, she was a puzzle, and he had memorized every piece. That night, the fog lay thick over the town, a low, oppressive blanket that dulled the edges of the streetlights and swallowed sound. The air smelled damp, mixed with the faint tang of decaying leaves. Emily hurried down the cracked sidewalks, coat drawn tight around her. She could feel the chill, but something else prickled the back of her neck, a sense of wrongness that she couldn't place. The first sound came softly, almost imperceptible. A single footstep behind her. Step, step. She paused, eyes darting into the fog. Nothing. The street was empty, yet the sound repeated, deliberately following her rhythm. Her heartbeat accelerated, each thump echoing in her ears like a drum. Emily quickened her pace. The footstep followed, soft, deliberate, impossible to locate. Her own breathing grew shallow as she glanced sideways, catching the edge of movement, a shadow flitting past the alley, vanishing before her eyes could focus. She told herself it was imagination. She told herself she was imagining things, but the gut-tightening dread would not let her lie. She arrived at the corner near the old abandoned gas station. The chain-link fence cast skeletal shadows in the fog. The footsteps had stopped, or so she thought. A scraping sound from behind the fence made her spin around. Still nothing. Only fog, only darkness that seemed to stretch deeper than possible. She swallowed, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed at her, turn back, run. But she was already halfway home. The killer had been trailing her, keeping just outside the range of sight. He knew exactly when to let her sense him, just enough to heighten the terror, but never enough to be caught. He understood fear as a living thing, growing stronger the longer it went unnoticed. Emily reached her apartment building, fumbling with her keys. The door, which she was certain she had locked before leaving, was slightly ajar. Her stomach sank. Trembling, she pushed the door open, the lock clicking faintly. Inside, the apartment smelled of damp and iron,
faint but sharp. Lights flickered, shadows stretching across walls. She froze. A chair had shifted slightly from where she had remembered placing it. A blind was slightly ajar. And then came the sound that made her blood run cold. Footsteps from the hallway, soft, measured, in perfect rhythm with her own. She could not see him, yet the sense of being watched pressed down on her chest. Every nerve screamed. Her hand shook as she crept toward the kitchen, trying to remain silent, trying to convince herself it was a trick of her imagination. The footsteps followed. Step, 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 closer. She reached for her phone on the counter, fumbling. The steps stopped. Silence. She froze, breath caught in her throat. A shadow moved in the corner of her vision, vanishing when she turned. The apartment was empty, or so it seemed. Outside, fog wrapped the town like a curtain. Inside, the killer observed, waiting, patient. He knew her panic had reached its peak. Fear was his tool, and it had worked perfectly. Hours later, the apartment was empty. Emily was gone. Her purse remained on the counter, keys on the table. Nothing else disturbed. But he had left a message, a sign. On the kitchen counter was a small note, typed and unsigned. "This is only the beginning." The next morning, Emily was reported missing. Search parties combed streets, alleys, and nearby woods. The town whispered her name, unease spreading like wildfire. Parents kept children indoors. Streetlights that had always been ignored now felt like fragile shields against an unseen predator. And through it all, he watched. Silent, patient, calculating. Every fear, every cautious glance, every whispered warning fed his sense of control. The sign he left, "This is only the beginning," was not merely a threat, it was a promise. It would not be long before he struck again. The town had not yet recovered from Emily. Parents kept children indoors, streets emptied earlier, and every unlocked door was double-checked. The fear lingered like a fog that refused to lift. He watched it all, patient, meticulous, knowing that terror itself could be shaped, molded, controlled.
His second victim was Michael, 28, a young man who worked nights at the printing press. Unlike Emily, Michael was careful, alert, a man who noticed the smallest details. That was precisely why the killer chose him. He thrived on challenge. For weeks, he followed Michael without being seen, memorizing his routes, noting the pattern of his life. Every night, Michael took the same alley on his way home. Every night, he paused at the same corner to check his phone. Every night, he lingered too long in front of the corner store, oblivious to the watching shadow. The night came, darker than usual, thick clouds blocking the moon. Michael's breath hung in white puffs. The streetlights flickered, throwing everything into uncertain shapes. He felt uneasy, sensing he was not alone, but he could not see it. From the shadows, the killer moved silently, blending with the darkness. He knew every crack in the sidewalk, every puddle, every flicker of light. Each step he took was calculated, measured, designed to unsettle. Michael heard faint noises, a creak, a scrape, but dismissed them. His rational mind told him it was the building settling, the wind, a stray animal. As Michael approached his apartment, he felt the first true hint of danger. The alley behind him seemed longer, darker, more oppressive than it had ever been. A shadow shifted near a dumpster, vanishing when he looked. Something brushed against his shoulder. Nothing was there. His heart raced. He accelerated, keys in hand. The apartment door, when he reached it, was exactly how he remembered it. Locked, lights off. He inserted the key, but the lock clicked strangely. He shrugged it off, convinced he was imagining things. Inside, the faint smell of iron was already in the air. He froze. A chair had moved slightly. The blinds swayed though the window was closed. The silence pressed in. Step, step, step. The sound came from the hallway, soft, deliberate, in perfect rhythm with his own movements. Michael froze. Every instinct screamed, "Danger!" He reached for his phone, hands shaking. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a faint whisper, barely audible, seemed to come from the shadows. "You cannot escape." Panic overtook him. He tried to call for help, but the line was dead. The lights flickered. Shadows stretched unnaturally. Something shifted just beyond the corner of his eye. He turned and saw nothing. Just fog, darkness, empty walls, and the faint metallic smell growing stronger. Hours later, his body was found in his apartment. No sign of forced entry, no struggle, just death. Cause: strangulation. As with Emily, no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing to tie anyone to the crime. Only a small typed note was left on his desk. Patterns repeat. Observe closely. The town's panic intensified. Streets emptied further. Security cameras installed by shop owners were carefully wiped, as if the killer knew exactly how to avoid them. Every minor noise became a threat. Families slept with doors locked and lights on all night. Fear had begun to consume the town. The killer did not stop there. He watched as the community's terror grew, each person's paranoia feeding him. He left subtle signs, enough to connect his crimes without ever being seen. A flicked light switch here, a chair slightly out of place there, and the whispered note, his signature, a terrifying breadcrumb trail linking the murders. Michael's death revealed something deeper. He did not merely kill. He orchestrated fear, building it, shaping it, leaving marks that only those aware could trace. The town did not yet understand, but each strike created a pattern, his pattern. And as the weeks passed, the whispers about the first two victims grew louder. People spoke in hushed tones, warning each other. Some locked their doors obsessively, others avoided walking alone. The fear was no longer about a single missing person. It had become systemic, a suffocating presence, a shadow over every street. From the darkness, he observed, smiling in silence. The second strike confirmed it. Fear was pliable. Panic was a tool. And the town's terror, that was the art of his craft. The note, left deliberately visible, carried a message, a subtle sign connecting the murders, a clue to those paying attention. The pattern was not random. The terror, meticulously calculated, linked every act of violence. He was crafting a map of fear, one victim at a time. The town braced for more, though no one yet knew the extent of the horrors to come.
The town had become a place of whispers and locked doors. Every footstep, every creak of floorboards, every flicker of light carried potential danger. The killer had refined his methods. Emily and Michael had been individuals, carefully chosen and stalked. But now he sought something larger, a more audacious act, one that would amplify the town's fear. The victims were 5 young men, friends since childhood, who worked at a local warehouse. They often stayed late, organizing shipments, chatting, joking, unaware that they had already become the objects of his calculated attention. Unlike his previous targets, the group moved together, confident, dismissive of caution. That confidence would be their undoing. For weeks he observed them. He memorized their routines, who left first, who stayed behind, the moments they paused for coffee, the late-night trips to the corner store. Each minor habit was logged, each pattern internalized. From a distance, he studied them like a chess master, planning every move. The night he chose was stormy. Rain pelted the asphalt, streetlights flickered under the wind, and thunder rattled the buildings. The group walked together, umbrellas barely shielding them from the deluge, laughing and unaware of the shadow trailing behind. Every puddle, every street lamp, every parked car was part of his mental map. He knew their pace, their stops, even the small hesitation one of them would always take to check a text. As they neared the warehouse, a sudden gust of wind caused a sign to clatter loudly. One of the men jumped, heart racing, but laughed it off. He didn't notice the dark figure standing just beyond the broken chain-link fence, unmoving, eyes fixed on them. The killer had perfected invisibility in plain sight. Inside the warehouse, the storm muffled sound. They worked methodically, unaware of the creeping dread. And then subtle signs appeared, small, unnerving details. A stack of boxes shifted slightly, though no one had touched them. A shadow passed just at the edge of their vision. A cold draft, unnatural in the closed building, whispered across their necks. One of the men, sensing something odd, mentioned it jokingly. "Feels like we're being watched." The others laughed, dismissing him. But unease had rooted itself, invisible but potent, growing with each passing minute. The killer moved silently, entering through a door that had been unlocked by one of the workers earlier. He knew exactly where they were, how they moved, and how to maximize fear. He let the suspense build, his presence a ghost, every sound muffled by the storm outside. The lights flickered, a chair toppled, tools clanged in the far corner. The men froze, hearts hammering. One swore he saw movement in the corner of his eye. Then came the first scream. The killer struck with precision, silent, sudden, horrific. Chaos erupted. The men scattered, but the warehouse became a labyrinth, every corner filled with potential terror. They ran into shadows, their panic growing, stumbling over boxes and pallets. Every sound, the rain, the thunder, the creaking metal, masked his movements. He was everywhere and nowhere. By the time law enforcement arrived hours later, the scene was devastating. 3 men were found unconscious, bruised and terrified, and 2 others had died, strangled, suffocated, executed with terrifying efficiency. There were no fingerprints, no DNA, no signs of forced entry. The only clue, a note left in the office, typed, unsigned, pinned to a stack of invoices. "Chaos is only the beginning. Observe closely." The town's fear peaked. Families refused to leave home. Streets emptied entirely after dark. Even the bravest whispered warnings. The killer had escalated. He had moved from individuals to groups, demonstrating a terrifying mastery over both fear and environment. Every surviving witness carried the weight of terror, each trauma amplifying the legend of the silent predator. His signature signs were deliberate, subtle, unnerving, linking the attacks without revealing himself. The note, the moved objects, the inexplicable drafts, shadows that never seemed to belong, all became trademarks. The people began to understand the pattern. Every act, every disappearance, every horror was connected, and they were all his design.
He watched as the panic spread through the town. News crews filmed the aftermath. Police questioned witnesses, but none could describe him. None could trace him. He was a shadow that existed in the spaces between reality and fear, leaving traces only perceptive minds could connect. This third strike, larger than the previous two, was a message. He was not limited. He could control multiple victims, orchestrate chaos, and remain unseen. He had made fear a tangible, living force. And with each note left behind, he mapped a network of terror, a chilling blueprint only he understood. The town would never be the same again. No street, no corner, no empty hallway felt safe again. And from the darkness, he observed, patient, precise, knowing that the ultimate strike, the fourth, the final demonstration of his mastery, was yet to come.
His last known victim was a woman named Laura Benton, a night shift hospital receptionist who lived alone on the edge of town. Laura wasn't reckless, and she wasn't the type to walk dark streets alone. She drove everywhere, she kept her doors locked, and yet somehow, out of every person he stalked, she was the only one who ever lived long enough to speak, briefly, before vanishing again. Laura finished her shift at 1 a.m. The hospital parking lot was almost empty, and she walked to her car with her keys between her fingers the way her mother taught her. Nothing felt unusual, nothing seemed off, but when she opened her car door, she felt a cold draft brush over her neck, as if someone had walked past her shoulders. She turned quickly. No one was there. She started her car, locked her doors immediately, and began driving home. Halfway through the route, her headlights flickered. The dashboard lights dimmed. Her engine sputtered as if the battery had been drained suddenly. She pulled over, frustrated, on a stretch of road with no houses and no passing cars. She tried to restart the engine twice. Nothing. The only sound was the ticking of the cooling engine. Then she heard breathing inside the car. Slow, calm, almost bored. Laura froze, staring at the windshield, afraid to turn around. Her brain tried to explain it. Maybe she was imagining things after an exhausting shift. But the breathing didn't stop. It grew heavier, deeper, and closer. She felt the back of the driver's seat push forward slightly, as if someone had pressed a hand against it from behind. She didn't scream. She quietly unlocked her door and stepped out slowly, leaving the engine dead and the interior lights flickering softly. She backed away from the car, staring into the rear window. For a moment, she saw nothing. Then the faintest shape shifted inside the back seat. Tall shoulders bending forward, a pale face leaning slightly to one side, as if observing her through the glass. His eyes were half open, almost sleepy. His head tilted the way everyone described, but no one could ever truly explain. Laura ran. She sprinted down the dark road barefoot, dropping her shoes within seconds. Behind her, she heard the car door open, but not in a hurry, slowly, quietly, the way he always moved. The air seemed to thicken around her as she ran, her lungs burning. Every few seconds she looked back, and every time she saw only darkness. But then she heard footsteps, not running, just walking. Slow, heavy, unbreaking. Like he knew she would tire long before he did. Laura reached the old service station 2 miles down the road, banging desperately on the metal shutters. The night clerk inside panicked when he saw her, sweat dripping, hair wild, feet bleeding on the concrete. He unlocked the door and dragged her in. She collapsed on the floor, shaking violently. The clerk asked what happened, but she couldn't speak at first. She kept looking at the glass door as if expecting something to appear behind it. After nearly 2 minutes of silence, she whispered 4 words that the clerk never forgot. "He followed me here." Paramedics arrived and took her to the hospital. She was pale, dehydrated, trembling uncontrollably. Her heartbeat was irregular. She refused to stay alone in the room.
She kept insisting someone was standing in the corner even when nurses saw nothing. When detectives questioned her, she gave them the only description that ever matched Emily's neighbors, Daniel's jogger, and Mark's sister. Tall, pale, head leaned to the side. He doesn't blink. He does not make noise. He likes watching people before he takes them. Detectives asked her if he ever spoke. She looked down at her hands and whispered, "Just once." They pressed further, asking what he said. She swallowed hard, eyes filling with tears. "He told me his name." The room went silent. A single detective leaned closer and asked her to repeat it. Laura whispered, "He said his name is Henry." Those were the last clear words she ever said. The next morning, when a nurse entered her room at 5:13 a.m., Laura was gone. The window was open, blinds fluttering. Her hospital gown lay folded on the bed. There were no footprints, no blood, no sign of a break-in, no sign of a struggle. Just silence. The same silence that followed every attack he ever made. And that was how the world learned the only name ever connected to the man who kills in silence, a name spoken by a woman who disappeared without a trace moments later. Henry. To this day, no one knows where he came from, what he looks like in full light, or how he moves without sound. Some believe he walks the woods. Some believe he hides in abandoned homes. Others say he wanders highways at night, waiting for someone alone. But everyone agrees on one thing. If you hear footsteps behind you, soft, slow, dragging, don't turn around. Henry hates being seen.